Guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to change my rear main oil seal. So I have to take the clutch off, take the flywheel off, take off the plate that holds the rear main, change it and put it all back together. For those that are just joining me, welcome to my channel. I'm doing a bit of a mini series right now on refreshing my drive chain. Drivetrain, one of the two. I've just rebuilt, disassembled and assembled my SR25 speed gearbox. If you want to watch that video, it's up there, so click that. For those that are rejoining me and my constant subscribers, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate your support, and stay tuned because we've got some exciting stuff coming up. So let's get to taking this clutch off. We have to pull off these bolts around the clutch, and once we get those off, as the clutch comes off, I'm assuming the pressure plate and the clutch plate want to come off together, so you got to grab them together and make sure it comes off in one piece. All right. So the flywheel looks pretty good. I thought I may have to get a machine, but it doesn't look like it needs it. And now I've got to undo these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bolts, but they take a different socket head, so I've got to go get them. And then once these come off, then we'll be able to take out the plate with the rear main oil seal. All right, while I'm under here, I'm going to tell you about the slave cylinder. This is the slave here, and it's connected. It's a rubber hose that's connected to a hard line that goes to this little box, and it goes around and comes back. Now this damper box, it just helps the clutch pedal feel a bit softer, but I don't care for that. A lot of people have said this has caused problems with their changing of gears. You know, one guy reckons he changed the slave cylinder, the master cylinder, rebuilt the gearbox, new clutch, and he still had crunching issues. So then he deleted this damper box and it went away. So I'm going to get rid of it. So I've got a clutch line that goes from the slave straight up to the master cylinder, which I'm changing. I'm changing to a Wilwood one as well, which is going to be great. We're going to do that as well shortly. I'm going to take out this damper. So let's do it. All right, guys, in regards to the flywheel bolts, this is a noob mistake on my behalf. I didn't think they were the normal conventional socket, but they are. They look different. They don't look like a normal bolt head. They're just a 12-point bolt head, and the socket is 12 points. The older sockets used to be 6 sides. Now this is 12 sides. So you just use a normal 14mm socket to get the bolts off, all right? Just so you know for future. Let's get it off. Guys, as far as I can see, the rear main oil seal looks pretty good. It doesn't look like there's any oil leaking from it. The oil that was dripping from the front of the box could have been from inside the bell housing that then started dripping through the plate. There's no oil, like at all. So if I don't need to change it, I'm not going to. I think that's pretty good. It's good to clean up all this though, like, you know, look at that. So I'll clean it up. Look, I might change it depending on how it goes. Like, I don't know, if I need to change it, I should change it, shouldn't I? I don't know, but I'll tell you what else I'm gonna do. While I'm contemplating that, I am going to smash the top of the gearbox tunnel. So while I've got everything off, as you can see, like this is where the gearbox was rubbing up against, like trying to get it out. I'm just gonna massage all of this, especially this section here, some up there. Yeah, I'm just gonna belt it out while I got the room here while the clutch is off. Just belt it, belt it, belt it, belt it, belt it, so I don't have any issues getting the gearbox back in, because ideally, I don't wanna have to drop the engine the front cross member, or the, you know, release the engine mounts to tilt the motor to get it in. I wanna be able to just lift the box up and push it in. So that's what we're gonna do. We'll massage the tunnel and I'll work out what I'm doing with this oil seal. Whoop, see you soon. Guys, I've just massaged it all, and to be honest, I don't think you're gonna get any better than that. That's been pushed back heaps. hopefully. So now what I'm going to do is I have to take off the slave cylinder, which is up there. I might do that now while I have access underneath the car, while the clutch and flywheel is off, because it's giving me a lot of clearance here. So what I have to do now is I have to get in the car and detach the master from the pedal. So there's a pin, you got to pull it out, and then it'll free it up. Then I'll undo the bolts underneath here, and then I can pull it off. Alright guys, here we have my original master cylinder. It's old, it's the OEM one. Inside here, there's like some gunk and stuff in here over the years. It's just sort of built up. So that would have been playing probably a part on the hydraulic system. Now I'm replacing it with this bad boy. Wilwood. A Wilwood. I don't even know the model number, but yeah, I'm replacing it with this. And this apparently is, you know, Wilwood specializes in, you know, braking systems and hydraulic systems, and their stuff's pretty good. I got a Wilwood master cylinder in my hydraulic handbrake, so things great. So I'm replacing it with this kit. Let me tell you a little bit about this kit. This kit comes with obviously the master, its own little bottle, which you can change to a bigger bottle depending on your application. It comes with some extra fittings, a hose, and what all this is, this gives you two options, right? You can mount this separately or together. So essentially you would, you know, the bottle is on top of the master and it goes in that way. If you haven't got room in your car, you can move this bottle, and they supply you all the fittings to do so. So you can relocate the bottle somewhere away from the engine, somewhere away from, you know, the heat of the car. And, you know, so at least it keeps it at a decent temperature and it doesn't affect your clutch system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount this, but I'm going to relocate the bottle so it's separate. So the bore is, you know, 0.88, and that is 7/8. All right, so my original one was 5/8. This bore is 7/8. It's about 7 mil bigger bore size. However, the output is like 5 mil smaller. Now, is this going to make my clutch pedal feel different? Currently, my clutch is quite heavy duty. I've got an ACT clutch, and it's an extreme pressure plate, so it's quite moderate to heavy on the pedal. And also just deleted the damper box out of it, so that theoretically should stiffen the pedal up a little bit more as well. With those in mind, putting a smaller output master cylinder in, is that going to make my clutch pedal softer or harder? Am I going to need to stroke it longer in order to get the slave to extend out enough to release the clutch from the pressure plate? Like, all this is what I've been trying to work out, and I can't get my head around it. So guys, if you know any information about this, please let me know in the comments. Just put it down there, you know, sort of just write it out for me so I understand it better, and it would mean a lot to me. All right, so, but for now, let's put it in. If it needs adjusting or if it needs changing, we can change it, but right now let's put it in, and once we get everything back together, we'll test it and we'll see how it goes. All right, so let's mount it. In order to mount this master cylinder to the S chassis, GKTECH came up with an adapter, which I'm going to show you how to put on right now. It came with the bracket, came with 2 bolts, some nuts, some washers, and this is the clutch fork, which is that thing, what connects to your clutch pedal. Anyway, so we're going to put this on, and it's quite simple. So what you need to do is you need to take the rubber boot off, just like so you can get this on. We're going to slip this over like this and line it up. So the concave bits where the screws go in, so the screws go in like this, and they stay flush. So we're going to slip this over, slide this in like that, slip the washers over, put the nuts on. Tighten them up, and that is ready to go in your car. And these holes line up with the original factory holes. All right guys, the next thing I'm doing here is, this is the original. I need to measure this from the front here to where it sits in my clutch pedal. So what I'm doing is I'm going to mark a line here. And then I'm going to put a line here, which is where it sits. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that and transfer this one over, line it up with the marks, and then I can screw this one back till it lines up. But before I do that, I need to put the nut on here. All right guys, I've got it set up in the bench. Essentially, all I've done is put a tube in. I cut a Coke bottle in half, put one tube there, and from the output, put it in there as well. Fill it up with fluid, pump it a few times until all the air bubbles go away, and that's how you bleed it. This is the first time I'm bleeding it on the bench. Usually I bleed it in the car, so let's see how it goes. So I just bled it on the bench, and I'm telling you from now, I am never doing that again. I'd much rather bleed it while it's in the car. It was good, I did it, but it was so messy when I tried to tip the rest of the fluid from the reservoir bottle back into, the bottle, and took off the line to put the plug in. I made a mess everywhere, like the garage floor, there's brake fluid everywhere. Now I'm gonna have to bleed it again while it's in the car, just to be sure anyway. But yeah, that's it, that's done. Now it's time to put it in the car. So let's do that, shall we? Before I go ahead any further, I was starving. I had to order some pizza and it's just arrived. Let's go. Oh man, look at that. Amazing. Oh. Guys, because I'm using this remotely, this is going to be somewhere else, not on top of the actual master cylinder. I don't know which way, once this goes in, because this is going to go in that way, I don't know exactly where this fitting is going to go, and this is what sits on top, and you can obviously angle it any way that you want. And then I've got to work out where the bottle's going to go and how long the line is going to run, and if it's going to run, sort of more parallel, or if it's going to be up high and running down. See, the thing is, I don't know if I'm allowed to have the bottle lower than the actual master cylinder piston. I don't think it's going to pose an issue. It's not going to be exactly lower, but it's going to be sort of more parallel. If you have a look, see, that's where master cylinder goes. And I'm thinking about having the bottle here. And it's sort of a little bit of an angle. I don't know if that's going to pose an issue or not. Last thing I want is to have clutch issues when I'm trying to drift on a track at high speeds. According to, their safety warnings and instruction manuals, they haven't even stated that. I assume because it's a pressurized system and it's all going to be sealed, it shouldn't pose a problem. So I'm just going to see where everything's going to be positioned and then start mounting it. So let's go. I repositioned the bottle, went to go close the bonnet to see if it cleared the bonnet, and it hits the bonnet. Me, the idiot, I should have checked the clearance prior. I didn't. I just assumed that it was going to, because judging off the way it looked, I assumed that it was going to, close no problem. So tomorrow, I'm going to fit it back on its actual cylinder, and I'm going to cut where I need to cut on the firewall in order to make it fit, because it needs some modification. So we're going to do that tomorrow. It's a bit late now. I'm not doing it now. So tomorrow we'll get stuck into that. We'll get that on, and then we'll continue on with the rest of the car. All right. Regarding the master cylinder and the adapter, I decided to use that fitting. What I did was I put a little breather filter on it, and that breather filter is actually from my fuel tank. So I used the bracket, ran the hose from the hard line down the bottom up to the top here, and then just put this little filter on it, and that's a better breather now for my fuel tank. So that's the way I utilized it anyway, so I didn't do it for nothing, which is good. It turned out nice. Now it's time to put the rest of the master cylinder in. I have to smash out the firewall down here just to let the bottle sit in a little bit better. We're going to install the master cylinder, and then we're going to plumb it up. Alright guys, I got a little bit of drama with fitting the bottle. The bottle's going to push up against the top here, and it's going to sit on a bit of an angle, and I don't want to do that just in case it doesn't seal properly. So what I'm going to do is I tried bashing it out and I couldn't get it out. So I don't think this part of the firewall is actually moving. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to space the whole master cylinder out a little more by using some 3mm thick steel, and I'm just going to make sort of 2 pieces for the top and for the bottom. And that way it'll bring it out a little bit more, give me enough clearance for the bottle to sit straight while it's in there. All while keeping it flush with the firewall, because you don't want the master cylinder to be sort of have any movement, because you're going to be pushing it in with the clutch and you don't want the thing to be moving. So that's why I'm going to use some 3mm thick flat bar, cut it, and we're going to put it on. All right, so let's do that. And there we have it, guys. She is on. That was a pain, very big pain, especially this bolt down here, the bolt at the top, because the bottle's so big. It was very hard to get the spanner in there and move it around and stuff. My advice to you guys is when you go to put the bottle on with the little the little clamp that's on the actual bottle, I would tighten it just enough so it doesn't spin, and position it in a way where you can get the screwdriver in, and then just tighten it to finish it off, you know what I mean? But that's in, it's not going anywhere. Hopefully it's all good. The only other thing I need to do is put the braided line on by taking out that orange plug and put the braided line on, but I'll do that after I put the gearbox in. And that is how you install a Wilwood Master Cylinder on an S13 chassis. If you enjoyed that, like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because we've got the rest of the car to keep going with. And the next part, I think we're gonna paint underneath, so that's exciting. And then we're gonna start reassembling everything, put the flywheel back on, put the clutch back on, put the gearbox back in. We're gonna get it all ready, put the driveline back together. All right, so stay tuned. I'll see you soon. Peace.